A desperate prayer once rose from the hills of Israel, a prayer that would change the destiny of a nation. But the prayer began with deep sorrow and a heart that felt forgotten. Her name was Hannah, and her story began with silent pain. She lived in the hill country of Israel, in a small and humble home. Her husband was a man named Elkanah, a faithful worshiper of the Lord. Every year they traveled to worship God at the sacred place called Shiloh. There stood the tabernacle of the Lord, a holy place where sacrifices were made. Families gathered to celebrate and worship, but one heart remained heavy, because Hannah carried a deep sorrow, a pain she could not escape. The other wife had many children, but Hannah had none. In ancient Israel, children were a blessing, a sign of God's favor. But Hannah remained childless. The pain grew each year. Peninnah reminded her constantly, her words cut like knives. Year after year the mocking continued. Hannah's heart broke deeper. When the feast began at Shiloh, Hannah could not eat. Tears replaced her appetite. Sorrow stole her joy. Even Elkanah tried to comfort her, but her grief still remained. One evening Hannah rose quietly. She walked toward the tabernacle. Her heart was filled with desperation, but she also has faith. There she fell to her knees and began to pray. Her lips moved silently without a sound. Every tear carried a request. Every breath carried hope. Then she made a vow, a promise few would dare.
Lord, if you give me a son, I will give him back to you.
Nearby stood Eli the priest, watching silently. He misunderstood what he saw and rebuked her. But Hannah answered gently, her voice filled with honesty.
I am not drunk. I am pouring out my soul to God.
Eli looked at her again, and his tone changed. Go in peace, he said. May God grant your request. For the first time in years, Hannah felt hope. Time passed quietly. Seasons changed. Then one day, God answered. In time, Hannah conceived, and she gave birth to a son. She named him Samuel, because she asked the Lord for him. But Hannah remembered her promise, a vow she could not forget. When Samuel grew older, she returned to Shiloh. The moment had come to fulfill the promise. I prayed for this child, she said, and the Lord answered. So now I give him to the Lord. The boy remained in the house of God, learning to serve. Day by day he grew stronger, both in wisdom and faith. God's favor rested upon him, even as a child. While Israel struggled with corruption, Samuel walked faithfully. The boy born from tares would become a prophet, a voice for God in a troubled nation. All because one woman prayed and trusted God. Her tears were not forgotten. Her faith was not wasted. God turned sorrow into purpose and prayer into history. Because one whispered prayer, it changed the world. Samuel became the last and most influential judge, leading the people back to God during a time of spiritual decline.